飛ばしたらあんなこんなどんなカーブもへっちゃらさダダダティダダトゥダダうなるエンジンで涙なんかぶつ
Ever since I found out that other people do not have like alternate methods for syncing, I just feel like a bizarre clown. Like we're engaging in some like absurd ritual that only makes sense to us.
Yeah, but Dave, you actually, I can't tell if you're hot on the mic or if my headphones are turned up. Is your waveform looking particularly big?
No, I actually did just drop my mic volume a little bit because my waveform was actually like spiking out. So
okay, cool.
Hopefully this sounds better.
It sounds better to me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was hitting the red there for a second. So
all right. Welcome to the Super Sentai Brothers. This is episode 43 of Licensed to Carranger, the internet's best and only podcast dedicated to Gekisou Sentai Carranger. Every week we watch an episode of the show and we share our thoughts with you, the listener. My name is Matt J. With me as always is my co-host and brother Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Doing pretty well, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah, me too. It feels great.
I say we do it every week. We missed last week. We were very glad to have producer Mark and his daughter Ivy back for the hottest guest star segment that this show has, I think.
Yeah, she is absolutely more popular than either of us.
Which, you know, I'm frankly, I'm an old man now. I'm comfortable with that. I don't need people to like me. But it is good to be back.
It is. You know, I would have more ego about it, except that I've met Ivy, and she is just like a delightful, charming young lady. Mm-hmm. So it's not, I'm just like, oh yeah, no. Like, Ivy's great. Like, yeah. I would absolutely. You're fine.
Of course people like this.
Yeah. Like, who wouldn't? This is great audio.
Speaking of great audio, Dave, we're about to talk about episode 43 of Gokei Sentai Carranger. It is called, not Gokai.
I cannot believe how poorly you just did that.
Hey, listen, Gekisou, what was there a Gokai one?
Carranger was Gokai something?
I don't know, man.
There's a show called Gokaiger.
Gokaiger, yes, that's the anniversary show. Very good.
Yeah.
We're talking about episode 43 of Gokaiger. We're going to have zero context. It's about pirates, and that one might have, I don't know, Jakku in it. No, it's episode 43, of course, of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. It is called Merry Carmagic Christmas. This was the Christmas episode. We are no longer in Christmas season, but that's fine.
Yeah, I do wish that we had managed to hit. I feel like it would have hit even harder if we had gotten it right in at the Christmas season. Because, well, we'll get there.
Still not mad at it. Good episode this week. Look forward to talking about it. But of course, before we do that, Dave, as always, shining in the heavens, there are 5 stars. What is our first star of the week?
So our first star of the week, man, is a game that I've been playing, and it's very exciting because this is an old game, but astonishingly, it has become immediately relevant again because the game is called Dead Cells, and it's 3 years old, but they just dropped new DLC for it literally like the day before we started recording this episode.
Which is super exciting because normally when we talk about very old video games, we don't have an excuse to talk about the very old video game.
Aside from the fact that like we just are behind.
Right.
We haven't played new games in ages. But so this game, if you haven't played it, it's a roguelike Metroidvania. And I'm astonished that no one has come up with this before. Like, this is a fantastic concept.
I mean, there may have been other ones like this before. I don't have my ear to the ground that well, but this is definitely the one that is like that is most visible to me, a guy who only kind of pays attention.
Yeah, you know what's wild to me actually is the degree to which I don't pay attention. Like, I used to be like I had my ear to the ground. Like, I was a regular I read blogs about video games.
You had a subscription to Game Informer.
I had a subscription for years. Not that like Game Informer was like I actually liked Game Informer quite a bit. Yeah, I had like a 5 or 6 year running subscription to Game Informer. And now I exist in like the very like far outskirt orbit of like anything that's happening in the world of video games outside of like 1 or 2 vectors along which I'm still very informed. And those vectors are like Cyberpunk 2077 and like whatever the next big Bethesda game is going to be. And like that's basically it. So anyways, this game Dead Cells, aesthetically, it's really fun. You are like I'm actually totally not sure of the story yet, but like you're trying to escape this terrible prison
Dave, I've also been playing this. We both, it's on the Xbox Game Pass, so we actually both picked it up sort of independently.
Yeah, I actually am in trouble because my Xbox Game Pass expires on February the 20th, and I don't think I'm going to keep it up. And I'm going to run out of things to talk about real fast here.
Yeah, I don't know if you were to have like bought this game like on a disc, if there would have been something written on the back of the box that said, you are like Jonathan Dead Cell, and you are trying to escape from the evil castle run by Dr. Chemical. You know, like...
I really don't know that there is. Like, I don't know how deep the fiction of this game goes.
Right. But, like, I've also been playing Hollow Knight, and Hollow Knight actually does have a super deep story, but it doesn't tell it to you immediately. You have to, like, sort of, as you are playing the game, discover what the story is. I don't know if that's the case for Dead Cells, or if they're just like, I don't know, man, there's monsters and you're headless, whatever.
Yeah, but anyways, it's this fantastic game. The DLC for it just came out. Now, I realized that we sort of talked about this, Matt. I actually have not played the DLC. So if you are a Dead Cells fan, I apologize. I do not actually have any hot takes for you. But if you haven't played this game, you definitely should. Basically, you're starting at the very beginning, and you're resetting effectively from scratch every time. But as you're going through, you're like slowly unlocking things so that you're not totally starting from scratch, I guess. But you are basically starting from like the very beginning, and you start from the very same point, and you just go farther and farther and farther until eventually, you get to the end. It's a ton of fun. The gameplay is very fluid. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me in a very good way of Prince of Persia.
The original Prince of Persia?
Well, in the sense that it's a side scroller, but no, like the more recent ones, just that like the action is very quick and very fluid, and it's very responsive. It just feels very good. So,
yeah, Dead Cells, very fun. Who would have thunk? Yeah. I mean, a lot of people would have thunk in 2017.
It's a very popular game. So, Matt, what is our second star of the week?
Speaking of fun games, Dave, I have recently made a new game or a new character to play in the 6th edition of Shadowrun.
Ooh, I do like Shadowrun.
Okay.
Quite a bit. So I don't know if I like it as much conceptually as just straight up Cyberpunk, but I do like Shadowrun.
Okay, see, this is what I actually want to talk about, because nobody is that interested to hear what my Shadowrun character is, right? Like, I mean,
I am a little bit interested.
Okay, the bullet points are, I made a virtual adept, or I'm sorry, a physical adept.
Love the physical adept.
A virtual adept is something from a different game. That is from Mage. No, I made a physical adept, and a lot of his powers are like about having like extra special senses, and he's a bounty hunter who can like track people.
Oh, okay. So you're sort of like a Deadpool meets Dog the Bounty Hunter is what I'm getting.
Sorta, yeah. I had been watching a lot of Westerns.
I said Deadpool. I meant Daredevil. Sorry.
Yeah, that's closer. I've been watching a lot of Westerns. So I'm like, yeah, he needs to be like a gunslinging bounty hunter, but also cyberpunk.
Yep. Nope. Love it. Makes a ton of sense. Anyways, what were you going to say?
So here's the thing. I feel like, in a way that I never have before, I am ready to love Shadowrun now. Because I have always pushed back on Shadowrun, because if you've never played the game, it's a tabletop RPG.
Yep.
And it is... The broad concept of it is that it's like a cyberpunk game, but it is a cyberpunk in the future of a fantasy world. So, like, there is, like, dudes with mirror shades and laser guns and cybernetic arms.
Yeah, it's all that stuff.
And, like, neon cars and stuff. But, like, that guy might be a dwarf.
Yes, or
like,
slash wizard.
Right, and like there is definitely an elf who is a wizard who like rolls around with you and your team and sits in the van next to your hacker. Like, it is a weird mishmash of genres. And I don't know what it, because I've always pushed back on that because I'm like, no, don't put my, like, those are two great tastes, not necessarily two that I feel like go great together. But I feel like now that it's 2020, like, it kind of, like, the world is now getting to a point where everything feels a little like proto-cyberpunk in real life. So now it's just like, yeah, like, crank that to 11 and also there's a wizard. Like, that's very fun.
There is a weird degree, like, man, 'cause here's the thing, and I feel like we've talked about this at least a little bit in the past, but, like, you and I are of like a very specific, and I know there's like this whole talk of like a micro generation or whatever, but you and I are at a very specific, like, sort of like riding the cusp of technology as we are aging.
Yeah.
In a way that people that are like actually not even too terribly older than us and not too terribly younger than us kind of don't and can't. Because, like, we were sort of hitting developmental spots just as technology was, like, starting to launch. And so we are not digital natives in the way that, the kids that I teach at the high school are. Yeah. Who have just grown up in an entirely internet world. Like, they have no conception of the world outside the context of the internet existing. And not just, like, the internet of, like, 2009, like, forward, effectively.
Right, which was, like, right after the internet stopped being good.
Yeah. Because everything the teenagers love is garbage.
No. It's just that the internet stopped being good in 2008. I think that's the point. I think that's
the cutoff.
That's the pivot point. Yeah.
And so growing up in a world where, like, oh yeah, like that all is science fiction, and now you are getting to be old enough to, like, well, no, it's not actually. Like, it's actually very definitely reality, and not just like, oh, kind of, like, no, really, we're working on cyber arms and they're very good, in fact.
Right. And even, like, and not just technologically, but, like, the problems, like, some of, like...
Also the horrifying dystopia elements are, like, really kicking into gear.
Yeah, like, the extent to which there are horrific dystopian things in our real life, they very much, like, those problems are cyberpunk problems in a very real way, right? Like, mega corporations and stuff, like, and so I'm like, okay, like... At least if I'm playing in a game, like, the problems will be worse than they are in my real life, but my like, magic gunslinger with, like, a special eyes can fix those problems.
Yeah,
and that feels good.
That does feel nice, Matt.
Anyway, Dave, speaking of playing games with friends, what is our third star of the week?
So our third star of the week is the other day. Our good friend Josh had a birthday party, and you guys all started at noon. I did not get out till like around 7 o'clock, but Josh is a big board games guy, and so he just had a sort of like board game extravaganza, and that was his birthday party. And I got out for part of it, and I know you obviously were there as well. Mm-hmm. And I stayed out until like 1:15, which is insane. For me, I do not do that anymore. This is not like a thing that,
right?
Like, that's just not my universe.
Yeah, like in my youth, that was no problem. And if I'm already home and up till 1, that still happens sometimes. But like, I didn't get home until after 1:30, and like, I had just been, like, I was worried that I was gonna be sleepy and fall asleep, be sleepy while driving. So like, I drank like a can of Dr. Pepper before I left, so I got home full of caffeine and just stayed up reading like Mark Grunwald Captain America comics until like 3:30 in the morning.
Ooh. So we got to do it was, it was really wild to me. There was a handful of things that were funny about this. So I showed up. First of all, there was no booze at this party. Like maybe there had been earlier, but
there was a stray beer floating around somewhere. I will say we had gone out for drinks for his birthday the night before, and so that day we're like, we don't necessarily need 2 days in a row of this.
Yeah. So anyways, like what was wild is there was no alcohol at this party. And second of all, like we're sitting around playing games and Josh is like, it was around 8:30 and somebody mentioned coffee and I was like, oh yeah, I love a cup of coffee. And Josh was like, oh, I'll make coffee. And I said, oh, sure. But decaf, right? It's 8:37. Let's not get insane.
Right.
And like in that moment, like the late 30s-ness of this party, like crystallized for me real perfectly. Like, no alcohol. Like I've got to get home to my kids. I'd love a cup of coffee, but let's not have caffeinated coffee because I got to get to bed. Now I did, of course, not end up going to bed until 2 a.m, which again is insane for me. But I did it. We played 2 great games. One is a classic, Puerto Rico, which astonishingly I had never played before.
I am very surprised you never played Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, if you are not a board game person, is it's a resource management game. It's a resource management game sort of in the same way that Settlers of Catan is a resource management game, except that Puerto Rico is a good game that's well made and fun to play.
Yes, yeah, it is kind of astonishing. Matt, this is not a joke. I think I may own a copy of Puerto Rico.
I would not be surprised.
And just kind of have, like, somehow never gotten around to, like, opening the box and playing it. And, like, this is like a super classic game. And I had never played that before, and that was a blast. And then we played a brand new game. Not brand new, it's like 2 years old or something. But I had never played it before, called Scythe. And it is, like, an alternate history post-World War I, like Eastern Europe diesel punk game that is like
it's
like resource management Risk, kind of.
Yeah, it's a game.
It's pretty wild.
It's definitely a game that looks like it is going to be like a military sim game, and then you start playing
it definitely
and you're
is
like,
not.
oh no, this is an oil and steel gathering and like tech tree building game in which you might have a few fights.
Yeah, I had, and then I had a very weird experience, which was I had never played either of the games before, and I kind of rolled in and I was just like, okay, well, like this feels like an okay strategy. And I did win both games. Scythe I won by, according to Josh, a sort of ridiculous margin.
I had fun too.
Sorry, the point of this story is that it was a very surreal experience on my end. It was very, like, I imagine that's probably how Gambit of the X-Men feels kind of like all the time. Where you just sort of are doing things and you're like, I'm not sure that this should be working, but it seems to, so like, I'm just going to roll with it. And you get to the end, you're like, oh wow, that did in fact work out very well.
Dave,
like, I take very...
Dave,
yeah.
I hate to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
You're surely talking about Longshot.
I surely am. Well, okay. Gambit has like some luck powers, but no, I am definitely talking about Longshot. No, he doesn't have luck powers. He has subtle hypnotic charm. That's the thing I was thinking of. No, yes. I am thinking about... I kind of mishmashed those two.
It's all fine. I just wanted, Dave, for the listener at home who was thinking, surely he's talking about Longshot, I wanted to be his voice right here.
Yeah, no, thank you. I was talking about Longshot. And so anyway, I got to the end of these games. I just want to be clear that I do not take very much credit for any of that. It was not like I figured this game out and I rolled in and with brilliant strategies.
A similar thing happened to me the first time I played Root, which is a game I've talked about before on the show, and I think I've even told this story before. The first time I played Root, we played it twice in one day, and I won both times, and I thought, man, I'm very good at this game.
I must be very good at Root.
And then later, I played the game again as a different faction, and the faction that I had been like unbeatable as, like I found them to be completely unbeatable. I was like, oh, I wasn't good at Root. I was just playing as the best team.
Yeah, I think that's very much true of Scythe. Like, the group I was playing at Rust Viet Union, if you've played the game, I looked at them, I'm like, I'm pretty sure you have, like, this is just the best power. Like, I'm not totally sure, but, like, I think it's very, very, very good. Anyways, Matt, so that was a blast. It was a delight for me to get out and see you and Josh and get to hang out and play some games. What, Matt, is our fourth star of the week?
Dave, fourth star of the week, I'm looking at our list here. It just says
Oh, sorry.
Billboard.
This is a fourth star. This is a fourth star that I put on there, and I got sort of lost in the moment. So I saw a billboard, Matt, and it was a very bad billboard.
Okay.
Because here's what the billboard said. Yeah, and I'll explain why it's bad in a minute. So there, the billboard, it had 5 words on it, and the 5 words were crazy horse, and those were in very big letters.
Sure.
And then underneath it said food, fun, food, drinks, fun, and that was the sum total of text on this very large billboard. Now you have to know that the crazy horse is. If you could probably, I feel like, I don't know why strip clubs tend to have horse in the name. Maybe that's just like a thing in and around Cleveland. But
couldn't tell you.
Yeah, sorry. Also, to clarify, I do not, nor have I ever been to a strip club. Just, you drive around. Anyways. And then also on the billboard was a lady, and you could only see her from the neck up. So this was not like lascivious at all.
Right.
But she is giving you a look on the billboard that sort of looks like she might be dead, but I'm sure she intended to be a very much like a come hither, lascivious sort of glance.
I'm sure it probably is a look that plays better if it's not like zoomed in on a billboard.
Yeah, and like 30 feet high or something. So anyways, here is why this is an absurd billboard. Because like there's only 4 data points. 5 if you count the fact that like maybe strip clubs tend to have the word horse in the name for reasons I don't fully understand. Like there's only 4 data points on this billboard, one of which is the lady who's giving you a bit of a look. But again, she's not like, you know, you can only see her from the neck up. So like, I mean, car ads have that. You know, and then the other one is food, drinks, fun. Well, that's like, that could be Chuck E. Cheese, man. That's
literally
like
can be
any
Chuck E.
restaurant.
Cheese. Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese has beer on tap.
Yeah, like this could be any restaurant.
It doesn't even necessarily say alcoholic drinks.
Right. Why, if you say drinks, I feel like that's implied. And so, like, this is the stupidest billboard I've ever seen. Because if you don't already know what the crazy horse is, like, you might be able to intuit, but, like, this is a billboard that only works if you already know what the product is. And also, there was no address on the billboard. So, like, if you know what this place is and where it is,
this is not an advertisement. It's just a reminder. Like, hey,
right?
Has it been a while since you've thought of us?
It's like, hey, remember the great times you had here? We're still here. You could come back.
This is like the Christmas card you get from your dentist. Like, hey, remember me?
Yes, I just saw this billboard.
Make an appointment.
I was struck by how stupid this thing was. Anyways, Matt, what is our 5th star of the week?
Dave, 5th star of the week is briefly, I last Wednesday went to go see AEW Dynamite live in Cleveland, All Elite Wrestling.
That sounds very good. Where was it?
It was at the Wolstein Center, which is the, it's not like the big stadium downtown. It is.
Oh, yeah. That's a much bigger venue than the Agora, which is where we saw NXT.
Yeah, although I gotta say, having now seen shows at the Wolstein Center, because the Wolstein Center, it's like, it
is a little bit more of like a stadium. Like it's a,
it's like the college stadium, not the pro stadium. And so like, I think like it is, you know, large, but not as fancy as like the football stadium or the baseball stadium. Anyway, all of that is to say that having now seen wrestling in a larger building and a smaller building, I think the smaller one was actually better.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like it would be much neater to have seen it in NX, because you're, like, right there. Like,
Right.
there are no bad seats in the Agora.
I mean, honestly, there weren't particularly bad seats where we were, and we didn't have terrible seats. But the thing of it is that the Agora sells out. And if every seat in that place is full, then it feels like there's like an electricity to the room, right?
Oh, because right, okay, I can see what you're saying.
Whereas like AEW is a great show, and there were a lot of people there, more people than would have fit in the Agora, like by far, but
it was not sold out.
Not only did they not sell it out, like they didn't try to sell it out. They sold out enough of that room that when they put the cameras in there and pointed them at the places where there were people, the room looked packed to the rafters on TV.
Ah, okay.
Because, of course, when you go to a wrestling show, the wrestlers play the role of wrestlers and you play the role of an audience at a wrestling show, right? So, like,
yeah, natch.
So that's what we were. Like, we paid to be the background extras at this television show, essentially. So yeah, like a smaller room is more fun, but dude, it was very good. The AEW wrestling is extremely dope.
Okay.
It's it's just a ton of people who otherwise would not be working in WWE, either because like they went into the company and sort of bounced off of it for various reasons, or just don't feel like it, or couldn't get hired there for whatever reason. But they're guys who are like had been big in like independent leagues or overseas and are now just like all working together on this national scale in a venue that like otherwise just wouldn't exist. And it was extremely good.
Dude, that sounds rad as all get out. Oh,
Rhodes
was
there.
Orange Cassidy. Was Orange Cassidy there?
Orange Cassidy absolutely was there.
Nice.
He did not wrestle a match, but he did sort of, do a little bit of his thing. I feel like they are like weirdly saving him for something, because he'll show up and just sort of like be around, but not actually do any matches.
Well, I feel like, no, this is very good, because he's so chill that, like, when he finally does actually do something, I feel like everybody is going to lose their collective minds.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I'm not going to, like, sit here and recap a episode of AEW. It was on TV. You could probably find it. This was more me telling you that if you have a chance to go see either your local professional wrestling or a traveling show that's coming through your town, just give it a shot. It's very fun.
Dig it, man.
And that, Dave, that is it for the 5 stars. We are going to take a break. We are going to watch episode 43 of Gekisou Sentai Carranger. It is called Merry Carmagic Christmas. Its original air date was December 20th, 1996. It was written by Naruhisa Arakawa. You can follow along on the DVDs or on shoutfactory.tv, or I don't know where. It's probably somewhere else as well. But we are going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. So, Dave, it's Christmas time in Carranger Land. A dusting of snow has settled o'er the land. Except that it hasn't, because this is actually the second half of a 2-parter. There's a cliffhanger and everything is exploding.
Well, that's true. Although I will say, I was pretty surprised. This episode, would I be spoiling it? It's not. This episode is actually not a cliffhanger episode, which I was a little bit surprised by. I kind of figured we were close enough to the end that it was just going to be kind of cliffhangers from here on out.
Now, dude, I told you we are going to have at least one more filler episode. I think it's next week.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. And I think also because this is like a Christmas episode, we'll get into it because they lean in hard. If you don't remember from last week, VRV Master, it turns out, is also... There are 2 surviving Hazardians. One is Dapu, of course, and it turns out VRV Master is a Hazardian, and it's Dapu's dad. At the end of the last episode, VRV Master has rescued Dapu from Barbarian, sent him back to Earth, and then executed basically like a suicide attack against evil Emperor Exhaust to like buy time so that Dapu can escape to Earth. The only problem with this is that Dapu's heart is still shaken because he thinks that the Rangers are kind of like, they're like not there for him in a way, because he wanted to celebrate Christmas, which they were not thinking about doing with him. And therefore, because Dapu himself is the conduit for all magic, Carmagic power that the Rangers have access to, they are losing, like, not their individual powers, but the giant robots have lost their access to, like, the giant battery of Oa that is Dapu.
Right. So, like, we are just watching essentially, like, the needle on the gas tank drop the entire time that they're fighting.
Yeah.
So Dapu has successfully, with the help of VRV Master, gotten away from Barbarian and gotten away from Exhaust. But when we cut back down to Earth, RV Robo is in a fight with Marine Zaboom. They are about to run out of energy, but just before they run out of energy and like completely lose, Signalman says, "Hey, like you don't have to beat Marine Zaboom, because if you will recall from previous episode, all of these three robots, there's like a big eagle, a big lion, and a big shark robots.
Yeah.
They are all being piloted by like one of the Bozok who was in a car that's like stuck to the forehead of the robot. They're not inside a cockpit. They're like plugged into the forehead of this thing.
Yeah, and this is like a weakness that the giant monsters do not generally have. Like, they're just generally I said it, they're giant monsters.
Right. So Signalman says, like, listen, I will give you an opening. Like, I'll block this next attack with my like huge like Signalman shield. And then you just hit Inventor Grotch, who was like sitting on top of this thing. If you can manage that, we can beat this robot together.
Yeah, and that is in fact exactly what they do. Like, they use a vehicle class weapon against just like
a dude. It is cool though, because like they only have like 15% power left. And so they're like, okay, we'll just move all of the power into one of the 5 vehicles, because that's the one that like Plugnado Spark comes out of. So like they just shunt it all into the blue one, and then that one shoots. And so Marine Zaboom goes down, and then immediately RV Robo just shuts off.
Like, that's it. They did not. That's everything that they had. So we go from there, and we see Dapu, and he's sort of like rocketing into Earth. He's not rocketing, he's driving, I guess. But he has a hard kind of crash landing into Earth. But he survives. He's kind of dozy, but he sits up and he's feeling groggy. And the Rangers have rushed down to find him. And they're like, oh my gosh, Dapu, like, we're so sorry. Like, we have to say... And, like, they're clearly about to, like, make a big apology and tell him how important he is to them. But they don't. They're stopped. Because Dapu sits up and he starts talking. I think he's saying dad. And everything looks like super hazy. And so I was thinking that this was about to... Like, he was hallucinating or something. Like,
I
he just
also thought that. The way that it is shot definitely makes it look that way.
Yeah, but he gets up, and he's not. Like, VRV Master is just there, and the Rangers are like, oh my gosh, it's VRV Master. Wait, what? Holy cats! VRV Master is Dapu's dad.
Yeah, like, they're finding this out for the first time.
Sorry, I'm explaining this in a very disjointed way, but it's sort of like a weird disjointed scene. Like, there's a lot of jumping back and forth.
So they are happy to see VRV Master alive, of course. Dapu is thrilled. Dapu gets up and runs to VRV Master and gives him a big hug. He's like, oh my gosh, Dad, it's so good to see you. I'm so glad that you're safe. Now, here's the problem. The problem, Dave, is that VRV Master is not safe. VRV Master is not even VRV Master in this moment.
Oh man, I was so like you need to talk about this. Like, I had legit feelings about this part of the episode. Like, I was furious. Like, any Because it's Zelmoda. Sorry, I am going to talk about it. It's Zelmoda, and he was wearing a VRV Master disguise. And let me tell you, like, any soft feelings that I had for the Bozoke, like, up until this point, they're like, oh, they're just, like, the rowdiest boys, and, like, they're big dumb idiots, and they just want to, like, ride forever on the intergalactic highway. Any soft feelings I had for these chuckleheads are gone. Nothing is left. Explode Barbarian. I mean, maybe just Zelmoda. Like, President Dynamo might just still be like a big dumb idiot. But Zelmoda can burn. I'm done.
Here's the thing about this scene that struck me more. I did not have that feeling exactly. My feeling was this. Man, Zelmoda's got a weird big head. There is no way he would be able to disguise himself as VRV Master effectively. VRV Master.
That's a very good point too. I did not even think about that.
VRV Master has like a motorcycle helmet-sized helmet. Zelmoda's head is twice that tall. It should not work unless that is like a TARDIS helmet that is bigger on the inside.
Well, okay, now hold up, though. It must be a TARDIS helmet because there's no way an adult Hazardian's head would fit in that helmet either.
Oh, crap, that's true. Yeah, maybe this actually is his real helmet that just, shrinks his head for some reason.
So, Land Zuon, I think is what it's called. Lands, haha. And
Dave, I'm sorry, it's Land Zazoon.
Zazoon, sorry. The subtitle was, like, white on white, and I sort of missed it. And so anyways, he lands, and he's like a big lion robot with like not Wolverine claws, like Vega claws on both hands. I feel is slightly more accurate.
Okay.
And he has like a tractor beam, and he just sort of yoinks Dapu again. So like they went through all of this, and like Dapu was rescued, and they were like, nope, we got him. And built into Land Zazoon, it was?
Yes.
Is some sort of like Carmagic power inverter? Like current inverter, and it just is gonna take his good Carmagic and turn it into evil magic power.
Yeah, it's like plugging something into the cigarette lighter in your car. Like it converts it from DC to AC, and then you can plug your laptop into it.
Yeah, okay, that's precisely. And so then this is the single greatest. I don't know. This is not the greatest moment in this episode because there's a lot of very good moments. But we get what is maybe my favorite moment in this episode, which is we see Signal Man piloting Cyrender still, dragging Marine Zaboom off and grumbling about how he was left illegally parked.
Yes, and how towing him away from this city is such a huge hassle, and that someone should have to pay a fine for this.
It just it was like a 3-second line, and it absolutely made this episode for me. So then they're back in the fight. So because Land Zazoon is able to use Dapu to recharge the batteries on both Sky Gigante and Marine Zaboom. And so now they're all three ready to roll. And now that those two have been revived, instead of having a car with a person driving in it plugged into the forehead, it just has a giant, well, I was going to say a giant microchip. That doesn't make sense. They have a macro chip plugged into their forehead that is like Celestial style. Yeah, that is doing the now they are automated. Now they are truly just evil robots. They're just giant. Yeah, they're just giant robots. And the Carrangers look up and they see all three of them standing together, and they're just like, "No, we already beat you. Come on, we and it's you feel it, man. It was so hard. They already did the thing." Although actually, now that I'm thinking about it, the show was clever about it because it gave the Rangers a way to beat Marine Zaboom earlier that did not require further explanation as to how it was undestroyed and made usable again. They didn't destroy it before. They just unplugged it basically. Right. No, this is I tell you, man, when this season started, I thought it was mostly just weird goofs, but I mean, it's a lot of goofs. I mean, it is a lot of goofs, obviously, but I feel you can see, I think, in their desire to have a lot of fun and to goof on Sentai stuff, they clearly have done a lot of thinking about all of the sort of trope elements of Sentai. And so, like, after kind of thinking about that, like, they've looped around into actually some very good and innovative Sentai episodes.
Yeah. I agree.
So anyways, so we go from there, we go up and we see Evil Emperor exhaust, and he's like, they must be almost out of energy. I'll doom you to hell this time.
That is a quote. I have it written down.
Yeah. And he might not say this time. He just might say, I'll doom you to hell. And so the Rangers are like, well, dude, and this is awesome. They're like, we can't give up. We cannot give up, like, no matter what. Dapu's counting on us. VRV Master is counting on us. They're like, RV Robo is out of energy. We've got a little bit left in the tank with the VRV robots.
But crucially, not enough in the
tank. Or
tank.
The VR vehicles.
Yeah, the VR vehicles have enough energy to, like, operate independently as their, like, separate humanoid forms. But, like, apparently combining them requires a lot of energy, and they just don't have it right now.
So they're like, all right, well, we just have to, like, we will just fight separately, and, you know, like, well, this is just what it is.
Yeah.
We just got to do what we can. So this fight is on, and it's a very good fight. Like, because there's just a ton of robots. There's 3 evil robots, plus Syrender, plus the 5 fighter bots, the VR fighters, and there's just a lot of, like, great choreography. Lan Zazoon is a really neat-looking robot. He's just like a crazy giant lion, anthropomorphic, like, lion man. It's just, like, it's worth going to watch, like, if you were a Sentai fan. There's really cool music. And then we're getting these shots flipping back and forth between the sort of macro fight and then shots of Dapu, and then also shots of this power meter that's on Lan Zazoon sort of slowly increasing as they're drawing more and more power from Dapu.
Right. Now, so when Dapu wakes up, he realizes what's happening. He finds, like, oh my gosh, my power is being drained. And not only is it being drained, it is being used to power these things that are trying to kill my friends. This is terrible. Like, I can't believe that this is how it's all going to go down.
Yeah.
The Carrangers are like, no, we have to live and we have to win, because if we die, it will ruin Christmas for Dapu.
Oh my gosh. It's so,
and
like,
that sounds like a goofy joke, but, like, in the moment, it is very good, because they are so committed to, like, caring about their friend that they're like, we have to make sure that we survive so that he won't be sad that we've died and left him. I'm not doing it justice. It's extremely good.
No, it does. It really hits. Okay, so because here's what we get. So we see Kyosuke, and he's like, no, we're going to live because, and he looks down, and he has brought Dapu's Christmas book with him, and it's, like, in the cockpit of Red VR Fighter. And then we get this sort of, like, Dapu's like, is this it? And then we see Kyosuke, and it's the action, like, shifts out. So clearly we're in some sort of, like, metaphysical realm where they're kind of talking to each other. And you see it's Red Racer, and then his costume sort of fades away, and it's Kyosuke. And they're in that sort of, like, black backgrounded, misty fugue zone that, like, a lot of Sentai happens in, depending on the season. And then we see all 5 Rangers, and they're all there in their human forms, and they're, like, talking to Dapu, and oh man, like, it just hits. It's a really, really excellent moment. It's one of those really great moments that you really show up to Sentai for.
Yeah.
The sort of unabashed, like, exaltation of, like, friendship and heroism, and like, everybody's just in it and trying super hard. Like, it was great. Like, it was a super awesome moment.
So we pull back out of that, and President Dynamo says, all right, once I have, like, juiced the battery on this thing to the point where evil power is at 120%, I'm going to like let loose this crazy energy blast and it's going to destroy everything. So he's like sucking up that evil juice. The VRV like individual robots are struggling. And Dapu now sort of like, now that he's had this moment of connection with the Rangers, he remembers from the end of last week's episode when VRV Master said like, listen, like the power, what was it? The power of Carmagic is unlimited if like you all share the same dream or something.
Yeah, that is it.
And so like he remembers that the Rangers are like, they're not going to give up. And so like they're all losing, but you can like physically in the course of the fight, they are losing. But like mentally and emotionally and sort of like spiritually, you get the sense at this moment that like internally their tide is shifting and like things are about to get a lot better for them.
Yeah. So they're like, no, like we can't lose because we want to celebrate Christmas with you. And then Dapu is like, how can you say something so heroic and unselfish? And he's like, I love you guys. And then he says Dapu at the end of it, which like
kind of breaks the moment.
Yeah, it is like a very like Pikachu moment. But then this is great. He is so filled with like the power of Carmagic that he overloads their like evil inverter circuit, and the power spikes to like 600%. And he's like, let's have a Christmas party together. And the evil robots explode. And it supercharges the VRV fighters. So now it's just, I don't know, they're all there. And so it supercharges the VRV fighters. They do the victory fusion. And they're like, how are we going to do this? And Kyosuke says like, well, I'll jump into RV Robo. You guys pilot VRV Robo. And then we'll do this.
And that will do an extremely cool thing.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. Well, okay, so there's a quick thing that is they do a 2-bot victory twister. So RV Robo gets Vulcan Cannon.
There is a bit here right before they do that where the shark thing, Marine Zaboom, his fin turns into like an energy fin and shoots it at VRV Robo, and VRV Robo just points its Vulcan cannon at this energy fin that's flying towards it and shoots it with so many bullets that it reverses its course and flies back to Marine Zaboom and it hits him.
It just explodes him. Well, that's okay. So VRV Robo has Victory Twister and RV Robo has Vulcan Cannon. Or Victory... It's Vulcan Cannon and Vulcan... Whatever it is. But he's got the other one and he blasts Sky Gigante, who goes down. And so now it's just these two robots and Land Zuon, who you'll remember, Dapu is still like strapped into the chest of.
Yes. So they like reconfigure their weapons so that now VRV Robo has both of the guns again, right? So VRV Robo starts doing the standard victory twister, which if you recall is just like a bunch of bullets and like flamethrower like energy balls that all just fly towards something until it explodes.
Yes.
But, they can't let it hit right in the middle because that's where Dapu is. So RV Robo is sort of like comes up from the side as the beam is about to hit Land Zazoon. It like swings the RV Robo sword and cuts the energy beam in two so that like it hits the top and the bottom but leaves the middle intact.
Oh my gosh.
And then
it's so good.
And then after that, like that is enough to like mostly to destroy Land Zazoon and get Dapu free. Dapu gets free, lifts his arms up, and just says Carmagic, and then the robot just explodes.
And then he sort of like teleport blasts away and then does like he has a trench coat on and then does like a legit like superhero landing, like the 3-point superhero landing, and stands up and his trench coat flutters behind him for a second. It's 100% the best moment Dapu's ever had.
So, it's at least his best moment since he did like that fight with Zelmoda in the second episode.
Oh, that was very good too. So he kind of lands and he's still like, once he has a moment to sort of like, he kind of comes down from this. He's still very sad about his dad. So we go from there to Pegasus Motors, and it's the evening, and there's a cake, and there's like some Christmas stuff set up, and the Rangers have somehow gotten little plastic cake toppers of their own heads.
I mean, Dave, the Carrangers are very famous and popular. I'm sure you can pick those up at any store.
I do actually really dig the degree to which there seems to be Carranger merch in the world of Carranger.
And I especially love it because you know that the Carrangers are not seeing a thin dime of that.
Yeah, no. That money is actually probably all going to Evil Emperor Exhaust.
Yeah.
And because, like, he's super bummed about his dad, like, obviously, right? The Rangers they show up and they're like, Dapu! And I think... At first, I thought that they had kind of forgotten, but I don't think that's possible. I think they're just trying to put a brave face on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're like, we're here, and like, we're so excited. Like, we love you, and like, you're so important to us, and like, we want to celebrate Christmas with you.
And he has this moment.
There's another great moment.
He has this moment where he's like, like the other day, you were saying that you were all really excited to go home and celebrate Christmas with your families. That's what you always do. And I think it's Minoru is like, dude, like, you all are like a family to me, so this is, like, just as good as that. Like, do not even stress about it, my dude.
Oh, my heart. It's such a great moment. So, they all have presents for Dapu, which is really rad, and then I think it's Yuko's in the background, and she says, hey, there's another present back here. Is this anybody's? And everybody says no. And then Minoru's like, ooh, does it say Minoru on it? Because Minoru is rapidly, if he wasn't my favorite before, he's rapidly becoming my favorite Ranger. And they're like, no, shut up. It's not for you. Or they open it, and what is it, Matt?
It is
6 bottles of coffee milk.
Which, if you have forgotten, is the signature victory drink of the VRV Master.
Yeah, there's a card.
Did you write down what it said on the card, Dave? I did not.
Okay, I did not write down the exact details of what the card said, but here's the gist of it. It's like, hey, like, first, like, coffee milk is, like, great for a refreshing beverage and after a victory. Also, like, I am not there. I will see you later, though, which, like, that's less cool, VRV Master.
Right.
Like, if you're alive, maybe you could show up for Christmas. Would be great.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe he's the lone wolf of the universe. You can't tie him down.
So then I was looking at the timer as I was watching the episode. It's like, wow, this episode seems like it's over. There's still, like, quite a few minutes left. I don't think the credits are going to be this long. Like, what's going on? And then I found out, Matt. I found out why it seemed like the episode was over. Because the story of the episode was over, Matt.
Yep. But
they had one more
Christmas celebration,
one more treat for us. Yes. Because they launch into a full-on, like, 2-minute music video of the Carranger Christmas song. And they're, like, flying around, like, dropping presents off of Thunder Dragon. We get a shot of Signal Man writing a Christmas letter out to his Signal fan, which it bums me out that because he's still at Koban base. Like, he's not celebrating Christmas with them, which I felt sad about. Right. But he probably is,
also,
is okay.
weirdly, was not celebrating it with the Carrangers and Dapu. He was just at home.
No. That's what I was saying, that he did not celebrate it with them. He's just at Koban base. And they're, like, dropping presents off and, like, launching fireworks and stuff.
At one point, they launch a firework. They launch a firework, and it doesn't make, like, a fireworks explosion. It just makes the sky start snowing.
Yeah, that's a very cool firework. I wish we had
Dave,
that.
listen, the power of Carmagic is unlimited if you share the same dream.
So we see, speaking of sharing the same dream, Matt, hey, we see Zanette. And she's up on Earth, and she's up on Barbarian, and she looks out the window at Earth, and then the whole planet sort of morphs into a giant red racer head, and she's got a little, like, martini drink, and she sort of, like, raises her glass to Earth and gives a wry smile, as though, like, she and Red Racer are already an item, and like, I think of you fondly, while like their deadly enemies are all like 5 feet behind her. And then that is, and then that's the end of the episode.
The last image of the episode is it zooms in on the picture in the Christmas plan book that Dapu had made, that he had drawn a big red X over when he was sad that the Rangers were not planning to spend Christmas with him. And the red X fades away, and the camera like fades from a picture of like the Dapu drawing of them all together. It's very nice.
It is. It's a great moment. So that's the end of our episode.
Yeah.
Well, okay, we actually do have I don't know what to I mean, I guess everybody else does. So I guess they have to go on. The monster, the creature royale.
You're talking about the 3.
Yeah, and okay, so first of all, I feel like they go on together, right?
Yeah. I mean, do they go on in one unit? Like are they one entry, or are they 3 entries that are like because like the way that we have the 3 Stooges from Dire Ranger, like they are all together, but we did put them in order of importance. Okay,
so yeah, I think, and same with the
although
the
weirdly, it looks like we did it wrong because Telephone Teacher is above Company President Tombstone, and I don't know how that happened.
Ooh, tough to say, although I feel like it had a lot to do with her wrestling persona.
Yeah, that is true.
If I'm recalling correctly.
That's almost definitely it.
So, okay, so as far as these guys go, I feel like we have a couple of spots where we could think of as starting places. I feel like Snake Armor is kind of a good spot. I feel like the 4 Kings of Heaven are a good spot. I feel like Semimaru is a good spot. And they're all like, they're monsters, definitely, but they are very much like lackey monsters.
Right.
That don't have much in the way of like personality or story of their own.
Yeah, like frankly, for the most part, until the last few minutes, they weren't even their own monster at all. They were just like a robot suit that someone used.
Yeah. So I actually think Semimaru is probably a better spot, or
honestly, I was gonna say Thunder from Dire Ranger is more equivalent.
Yes, actually, I think, yeah, Thunder is. I was going to say somebody else, but I had the name wrong. I think Thunder is who I'm thinking of. So I think Thunder from Dire Ranger is a really good spot because he is also effectively, like, he's the big part of Warstar. Like, he's just a vehicle that you're driving around.
No, I will say, I think the design of these guys is very cool.
Yeah, I like the fact that there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
I dig that they're animal themed. I think their design is very neat. So they've got that going for them, I think, over and above Thunder.
Yeah, definitely. So above Thunder is Spectacular Character Find of 2015, Energy Butt, Bara Mistler, Bara Mammoth, Bara Boxer, PP Rappa, Azukirai, the Bean Washer.
Yeah, so as I'm looking at all of these dudes, my immediate jump is I like him better. I actually am going to go all the way up to Tengu. I think he's cooler than like WW Warichito, Bara Police, Azuki Arai. When I get up to Tengu, I think Tengu is really neat. Tengu was from O-Ranger, and he was around for a number of episodes. He had a cool look. He did a bunch of crazy stuff. I thought Tengu was really rad. Kaku Ranger, thank you.
Now, Dave, do you recall that Vacuum Dimension was a monster from Jetman, and the thing that he vacuumed away was love?
Ooh, I did not remember that.
And he vacuumed the love out of the heart of, like, a bride at the altar, and so that woman's little sister was furious at this monster and went to go find the Jetman and enlisted the help of Guy, who, like, had to, like, soften his heart to, like, work with this young girl.
Oh, man, that is... Okay. Well, they're definitely better than WW or Ichito. They're like a giant shark. His fin shoots off of his
no,
head.
I was just trying to remember who WW Ricciotto. Actually, I do like that guy.
I like him too, but like, he's like a bird miner. Like, it's neat. He's got a jetpack. He's cool. But like,
Yeah,
I think
I feel
these
comfortable
three
with
dudes. That. Yeah. So now the question is, like, do you have I have sort of an immediate, which is, I think Land Zuon is maybe, I think he's got the coolest look, and I like that he's got like a crazy like energy inverter in his chest. And then Marine Zuon has that, or Marine Zaboom has that super cool like launchy fin shark.
Also,
missile.
Marine Zaboom is just very fun to say.
Yeah, and then I think Sky Gigante is at the bottom there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they got cooler as they were released into the show. So like that is the exact order that happened in.
Oh yeah, that's actually a very good point.
All right, well then, that being settled, Dave, that is going to do it for another episode of License to Carranger. Before we finish up here, I'd like to remind you all that you can email the show at supersentaibrothers@gmail.com. If you would like to get any updates on future episodes or check out the things that we are talking about on Twitter, we are at Super Sentai Bros. Dave, if the good people want to get in touch with you to try out the playtest for the tabletop role-playing game that you've been creating, how would they do that?
You can just email me at gosentaiheroes@gmail.com. I will get the rules out to you and then put you on the updates list for anything else that we work on. I do want to say I am in the middle of like my kind of craziest time of year. So unfortunately, updates and work on that project has stalled a little bit. But I'm very excited to still be moving forward with it. And the rules as they are still, I think, pretty playable and playtestable. So I'd be delighted to get that out, and I'm always excited to hear feedback about it.
Dave, I think we need to frame this differently. It's not that the work has stalled. It's that you're giving people time to test the game before you go back in on round 2.
Yeah, there we are.
You gotta spin, man. You gotta spin. Anyway, folks, if you like the show, please remember that shining in the iTunes review section, there are 5 stars. Rate, review, subscribe on there, or just tell a friend, honestly. That would be very cool of you. If you want to tell them where to find us, the Super Sentai Brothers are a production of Retrograde Orbit Radio. To find it and any of the other great Retrograde Orbit Radio shows, you can do that all at retrogradeorbitradio.com. Once again, we are the Super Sentai Brothers. I'm Matt.
I'm Dave.
And we'll see you next week for the greatest show on Earth.